Hello, everyone. This is part two of Why I Believe the Bible. And one of the things I'm going to go into the Old Testament. Is the Bible accurate? So, what I'm going to do is refer to somebody who's a real expert. This person is a man called Robert Dick Wilson, born 1856 and died 1930. It's said that he mastered 45 ancient languages. So that's the Egyptian, Hebrew, Babylonian. He was a master of languages. He was gifted in that area. And they said that he learned every translation, every language which the Bible's translated in the New Testament, which is quite a few. That's Egyptian, Coptic, Boharic, Ethiopic, Old Latin, as well as the Greek. So he mastered language. He had a particular gift for languages. So he said at the age of 25, he said he would master ancient languages in 15 years. So he already knew a few languages by the time he reached 85. And he said he's going to master all the ancient languages in 15 years. The next 15 years, he said he's going to read all the ancient documents, right? So, and the remaining 15 years, he put into book form. So let's look at that. So we know for 2,300, 2,400 years ago, you didn't have papyri or books. A lot of things you had to refer to was ancient monuments. Now, I've been to Egypt. I went to Valley of the Kings and places like that, and you could see the engraving into the statues. So the only way you can actually compare is using how kings were spelt, their titles, etc., and compare it to monuments that were built at that time. Now, there's a case what we call transliteration. So, for example, what transliteration is? A translation from the language into uh, the language that's used. So, for example, my name is Lloyd and Lloyd. And if I was going to transliterate it into Greek or Hebrew, uh, it would sort of be translated. So it'd be Lamed, Lamed, and don't keep me if I get it wrong, Yod, Dalet. Yeah. So what would happen is, so hopefully you can criticize me that I got that wrong, but what I'm saying is that it's translated from the English into Hebrew. Yeah. So it's transliteration. So it was said there was 184 cases of transliteration. So what you notice about the Bible is they give real historic figures, yeah, real historic figures, Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, and Moab. They name kings, names their titles, etc. So that's over 2,300 to 2,600 years. So over that period of time, he would compare the Bible in Hebrew, compare it to ancient monuments at that time. So I'm going to make sure my cards there to that time. So what you see here in 184 cases of transliteration from Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, and Moab, comparing the Hebrew Bible to the ancient monuments, and he confirmed the accuracy of the Bible. Yeah. So we're going to sort of break down specific examples here. For example, the kings of Assyria, Tiglath-Pileser, Shalmaneser, Sargon, Sennacherib, Ir-Hadon, Esarhaddon, king of Babylon. I'm not even going to the names of all these particular kings. But it's, for example, these words claim 63 letters of 59, which are consonants. Comparing the consonants with those of the original, we find that only changes in the Hebrew text, contrary to general rules, consisted in the spelling of Shalmaneser instead of Salmanasar. All right. So what he did is just to sort of clarify that point. How do we know the Old Testament is accurate? One, they looked at the Hebrew Bible, looked how that word was spelled, and then went to the monuments. So those of you, if you're sort of inclined or you're gifted in that way with languages, you can go to the British Museum. You can see monuments from Nebuchadnezzar, Cyrus, um, all these quite a lot of the monuments are actually in the British Museum. And that's what he did. He compared with monuments and the spelling, translated it accurately. We look at the Syrian records. Now, some of the interesting when I went to the British Museum, for those of you who live in England or those who are from America, wherever you are, go to the British Museum. I remember seeing a monument with the name King Omri on there, yeah, the King of Israel. So in their records, where they mention kings from Israel, um, and people like Hezekiah and Manasseh, and they looked at the spelling and found corresponding to what's in the Hebrew Bible. There's what's called transliteration. Yeah. And so we see it the same with the Persian records. When we look at comparators with other scholars, there was a lot of inaccuracies when it comes to spelling. So perhaps a striking distance of difficult of transmitting accurately the proper names, right? There was a man called Tomley, Tomley, the astronomer. Of the 22 kings that reigned over Babylon from Nabonassar to Nabonid, inclusive, he mentions but 18. So out of the 22 kings, right, he misses out 4 kings. And of the 18 kings that he mentions, from Cyrus to Darius, the names of 8 are omitted. Josephus, Eusebius, and other of the kings of the 31 dynasty gives 140 names from 22 dynasties. Yeah. So he misses out 9 dynasties. Of these 49, so out of the 140 names, 49 appear in the months in a form that is with every consonant agrees with the spelling. So basically, out of the 140 names, only 49 are done accurately. Yeah. So you've got an issue there. Yeah. So it's not so easy, but we can know that Bible's written in a contemporary time with those people there. Right? So we could see the transmission of the Bible. Also, you have to understand when the Jews were copying, they did it letter by letter. And if it had any errors, a certain amount of errors, they get rid of it. That's why the oldest Old Testament Bible is 1,000 years old. And that's until the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls. And what happened, they found the roll of Isaiah, and it was written with minor errors, about 5 minor errors, 99% accurate. 1,000 years from the Dead Sea Scrolls to the oldest Old Testament we have, which is known as the Leningrad Codex, the spelling was spot on, except for about 4 or 5 minor errors. Yeah. So what you see here, you can have every confidence. And here's the thing I want to bring out here: when you compare the Bible, you have to be fair-minded with evidence of the Bible with any other document. All right. So we're going to go into that bit later. We're going to go to the New Testament, etc., and look at comparators. Yeah. So what you can say, summing up, is that the Bible in the Old Testament was copied accurately with contemporary sources, which shows that the writers of the Old Testament were contemporaries of the people they spoke about. And that's quite a key thing. All right. So I'm just going to finish there. And I tell you something, there's a lot of things I really want to get into. And I pray that God bless you and keep you and may cause his face to shine upon you. And we continue this in our next season next episode of Why Believe the Bible. Thanks.